Hello everyone, Alan here from the House of War with another hobby tutorial. Today we've had Aaron Weeks ask me how to paint orc flesh, so I'm going to go through how I paint orc flesh, or how I have in the past. This is actually a pretty old technique, just very simple layering. I think I could probably do a better one, a more modern one, but I'm just going to show you how I have done it in the past. It's not my best, but I hope it is useful to all of you. I'll also be revisiting how to paint eyes. I'm getting a bit better with the equipment that we're using, so the focus is probably a little bit better than it was last time, but you can tell me how you liked it. Enjoy. Today's tutorial I'm going to be using a bunch of paints. Warboss Green from Citadel, Military Shader from Army Painter, Moot Green from Citadel, and Ogryn Camo from Citadel. That's going to be our main mix. So we start off with Warboss Green. I've actually already base coated this guy, but I'm going to go through the motions, you know, add a bit of paint to your palette, and we're going to add a bit of water. I had an old model lying around, so I figured I'll just use it. I'd already base coated it, but I'm going to at least pretend for you that I'm painting it. See, I painted it good. All right, now we've done that. Pretensions are out of the way. We're going to get with a Military Shader from Army Painter. Obviously give it a bit of a shake, put it in your palette, and we're going to add a bit of water to it, actually quite a bit of water, about more than half water to shader. And then we're going to slop that all over our Warboss Green. The Warboss Green, by the way, we applied over the top of an Avalon Sunset base coat. It may have been Demonic Yellow, but I'm pretty sure it was Avalon Sunset. It's a while since I've painted this orc. I think he's been sitting in my case for about 5 years. That's why he's a bit dodgy. Sorry guys, wasn't assembled very well, but yep. Apply the wash evenly, and we're going to touch it back up with some Warboss Green. But first of all, we're going to mix a little bit of Moot Green into that base coat that we had before. Of course, we add some water. Always add some water. Get just a little bit on your paint, and we're going to start just reapplying it to most of the surfaces now that he's mostly dry. You want it to dry properly, but I was a bit lazy. So, as you can see, we're concentrating on covering most of the model, but just leaving like a tiny little bit into the crevices. The wash should naturally pull in such a way that it makes it obvious where you want to reapply. We're just trying to make it look clean and neat, but give it a bit of life. So ears, cheeks, his shoulders, like the shoulders are a big part. You should actually do that in little sort of downward strokes, but I was also struggling a little bit to hold the camera where I needed it to go. So yep, get it all over his knuckles, and now we're going to go with some straight Moot Green. Usual rules apply, get a blob, water it down, but I'm actually going to show you a little bit more about watering it down. This paint is quite thick out of the pot, I found normally. I'm going to draw a line through it, and you see that it doesn't form back in the middle very quickly. So we're going to add some water to it, stir it around, and once again, I'm going to drag a line through it, and you see it still takes a little time to fill back up. Doing it very fast, but now that I've added a third drop of water, it springs back almost immediately, and that means it's thin enough. So now we can apply that paint to the orc once again, concentrating on, you know, the big bubbly bits. You want to leave the crevices as they are and just build up those areas on the shoulders and the elbows, just generally anywhere there's not a crevice. I'm not doing anything particularly fancy with this. And once again, use the flat side of your brush to get the paint onto his knuckles. It'll catch the edges of it. And now we're going to do his face. So concentrating on all the raised areas and leaving as much as we can in the little crevices. Something I think I should stress is that the layering process of the paint will inherently build itself up evenly. If you go too heavy in the crevices, it doesn't matter. It will just fix itself up as you go along. You want to have nice thin paint for this. So we're just doing his arm again, once like the other, we did the other side. I'm not bothering with the hand much. I'm being a bit lazy today, but you can see where I'm going with this. All right, now we've got some Ogryn Camo. Now with the Ogryn Camo, we're going to be adding it to our mix. You can go straight to Ogryn Camo, but it's probably going to be a bit too stark, at least for me it is. So now I'm watering it down as per usual, adding even a bit more to it so you can see a bit more contrast between the two layers. If you want a really fine blend, you just do it in little layers. You won't add so much to it, but you can see now that's actually adding quite a bit of contrast between those two layers. And a lot of people I know out there are probably thinking to themselves that's not a lot of contrast at all to them, but to me that's a crazy amount of contrast. So Sorry, I'm having a bit of focus trouble here, still learning to use this new equipment. Once again, concentrating on the shoulders and the elbows and all those areas. I find orc arms very fun to paint. Now his face. Now, as you can see, I'm now trying to bring the brightness coming towards the front of his face. And you just want to concentrate, you want to start back and bring the paint towards the area that you want to highlight, like I'm doing there with the edge of that brush. And now I'm just going to lighten up his face a little bit. It's really starting to come to life now, because we've only got one more layer of paint really to bring it up. You can layer this in multiple layers as well so that you get a better effect. All right, so now we have our Ogryn camo. We're gonna put a bit of that into our palette, add some water, yada, yada, yada. Now, I'm just gonna show you in this little spot exactly how much paint you should have on your brush. You wanna have just a bit on the end of your tip, and you can see the bristles very clearly on this brush. It's only a little bit of paint, nothing on the ferrule. And now we're just highlighting it again. We're just bringing it up, but we're leaving quite a bit of the previous layer in there. You can go quite high with this, but I'm not aiming for really strong contrast. It's just not the way I paint. And yeah, once again, bringing those highlights towards the edges, the hard edges of his face. So that was quite an ugly line that I painted there, but we'll bring it all together at the very, very end. Sorry, that was the sound of a cat dropping. So yeah, once again, we're concentrating on all those little ridges. Just the little ridges need a little speck of highlight everywhere you can go. Some people add a bit of rosiness to his lips. I'm not bothering for today, I'm just painting the actual skin itself. All right, and that's sort of our end result. You, once again, just see how I'm doing it all in like little consummate V's, bringing down towards the end of his hand. And now we're going to paint his teeth, because I don't think you can really see where we've gone with this until we actually paint the rest of the details on his face. So I'm going to put some Stormvermin Fur all over his teeth. That's my personal preference for this kind of thing. I'm going to let that dry. I'm also painting his little earring just for the sake of it, really. Get some Army Painter Strong Toe. Drip a bit of that into our palette. I'm going to add a bit of water to it, because I add water to pretty much everything. Some people call me crazy, but I just don't like too much contrast. All right, we've mixed it all together, and we're just going to put a fine, thin layer of that over his teeth. And of course, and while we're here, I'm actually going to fill in his eyes and nostrils a bit, bring just a bit of the contrast in that I didn't build in while we were painting. While that's drying, I'm going to get our Stormvermin Fur again, add a bit of water to it, and we're not just going to highlight pure with that, we're also going to add a bit of Menoth White Highlight from P3. That's one of my favourite sort of bony white colours. So we're sort of a light bony grey. And yeah, now we're just going to apply highlights to each of those teeth. Little tiny little highlights. Now, you don't need to be too specific here. Now we're going to go once again with a Menoth White Highlight. I'm going to actually just take the Menoth White Highlight and mix a bit of my previous layer into it, because I want a nice bit of contrast here. The contrast is actually quite important with things like teeth. So once again, highlighting the teeth, leaving the previous layer in. You can see there's kind of a catharsis to our layering process. I really enjoy it. We're just now going to go with pure Menoth White Highlight for our final tooth highlight. I'm just adding a bit of water as I go. I'm not even bothering to mix it too much. And just like on the edges of the teeth, like a little dot of white on each one. The dot of Menoth White Highlight. I know it's not pure white, but it's pretty bright. And his little earring there. So looking at the flat side of his brush, we're actually going to do the eyes. We are going to use we're going to turn our model sideways, and we're going to stroke across his eye. So, and as you can see, we've turned it on, got it on that angle, and we're bringing it sideways with our model, and we're brushing into that eye socket. Brush, 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 brush. Brush, 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 brush. Okay, and now we have two eyes. We are now going to go for the hat trick, and we're going to put a dot of black on each eye. The idea is you leave a little bit of black on the top of each eye. So you can't really see it here, still struggling with the focus on this eye process. But on the other side, I think we get a much better, well, hopefully we'll get a much better job, go on it. Gonna get a bit closer, and we're gonna do one neat little eye. Now it just takes a bit of practice this, but you can see I've left a little bit of a gap in the white. I've also just added a bit of black around his face that I didn't like. There's a bit of a knob, a bit of a spot there. So we are going to get some of that original mix and I'm just going to paint it in there. This is the beauty of this layering process. You can always fix mistakes you've made. Now, I think the skin came out just a little bit too bright, so I'm just going to finally give it a quick slap with a bit of Waywatcher green glaze. I love this stuff. I think it's magic in a pot. It's like a wash, but nowhere near as strong. And you just take it straight out of the pot and just slap it all over it, and it will blend all the colors in and just make him look beautiful. And yeah, just slap it on. No fancy things here. Just slap, 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 slip, slop, slap. And that's all she wrote, really. That's how I would paint an orc skin. I hope this was helpful for you, Aaron, and anyone else out there. It's not my finest work, but if you've got any other suggestions, like, comment, subscribe.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned for our next hobby tutorial. We now have a YouTube channel, so tune into House of War TV. There's a link down the bottom. If you're watching this on Facebook, look at our YouTube page, and if you're looking at this on YouTube, there'll be a link to our Facebook page. So until next time, I hope you get stuck into some serious, fun hobby, and if you have things that you would like some help with, please ask, and I will hopefully give you some answers. Until next time, good night.